So now as you can see children, for today's class we have to do the ionization potential. If you look at the diagram that is given on the screen, you will see that in a very generalized way, that periodic table has been shown without naming the elements, and a general idea of the periodic properties you can get from this. Since you have already studied this in standard 10, little idea you already have that ionization energy is always increasing when you are going across the period, and electron affinity values are also increasing when you are going across the period. Ionization increases. The arrows are given in the way of the increasing order. Okay, that is why here you see it is given upwards, that the electron affinity values increase. But basically, you have studied that electron affinity values decrease when you're going down the group. So the arrows have been shown the other way. And regarding the atomic radius is increasing. Here it is shown. And by this arrow, you can understand that it is decreasing when you're going across the period. Coming to the non-metallic character, they have given it diagonally, that non-metallic character increases, which means the most non-metallic element is here and the most metallic element is going to be on this corner. So this is a generalized thing given, and we have to start with the ionization potential. Okay, now before we start with the ionization potential, related to the periodic table, these are the things you already know, I believe. Electron shells, number of electron shells remain the same when you're going across the period, and when you're going down the group, it increases by 1. Valence electrons going down the group remain the same. However, when you're going across, it increases by 1. Valence electrons. Remember, valency will first increase and then start to decrease. Electronegativity, ionization energy, electron affinity, all of these are increasing when you're going across the period. All the 3 periodic properties, and they are decreasing when you're going down the group. In a way, you can see electron ionization potential is directly proportional to electron affinity, which is directly proportional to electron negativity. Okay, so they are all the same. And metallic character decreases in going across the period. Metallic character decreases. Non-metallic character decreases in going down the group. Metallic character increases in going down the group. Non-metallic character increases when you're going across the period. So again, the arrows are from in the increasing order. All right. So these are the 2 charts I thought I could share with you all, and if you want, you can take that, click that screenshot and keep it with you, because now we will be moving on to the whiteboard. Okay. All right, so let me see now. We'll start using the whiteboard. So, okay. All right. So in the last class, we did the atomic radius, then we did the atomic size. In the atomic radius, we studied the different kinds of radii, that is the covalent radii, the van der Waals radii, and the ionic radii. Now, can a particular molecule have both the van der Waals radii and the covalent radii? The covalent radii that we are talking about is the atoms when they are bonded covalently and the distance between the 2 is taken. Internuclear distance divided by 2 is taken. And this is always less than the van der Waals radii if it is measured. Why? Because in the case of van der Waals radii, there is always, they come to the closest approach. They do not overlap, and hence there may be a slight increase in the van der Waals radii that you are measuring, which is going to be more than the actual atomic radii also. So therefore, you have the covalent radii, van der Waals radii. Then you talk about the ionic radii. Ionic radii, you know that the cationic radii are smaller than the parent atom, and the anionic radii are greater than the parent atom. And in the atomic size in general, we have also discussed. In the case of the atomic size, we have just now also seen in that chart that the atomic size, when you're going down the group, it increases due to the addition of a shell, and when you're going across the period, it decreases. Why does it decrease across the period? Because the number of electrons in the shells are increasing. Simultaneously, number of protons in the nucleus are increasing due to the increased number of proton-electron interactions. The atomic size, the shell is being pulled inwards, and therefore what happens, since there is no increase in the shell number, the size is decreasing. Coming to the atomic volume across the period, it first increases and then it shows a slight, when you're going across the period, it first decreases and then shows a slight increase towards the end. Why? Because too many electrons are now in the outermost shell, and when it is approaching to the number of 7 and 8, there may be some inter-electronic repulsions, and therefore the atomic volume may increase. Now the same is also applicable to the atomic size, because when you learn in standard 10 also, that last one, that group 0 was not there, group 18. Okay, but now you understand that due to some amount of inter-electronic repulsions, okay, this starts to, the size starts kind of is a little increased. Okay, now coming to the main thing that we have to do today, that is we are going to do the ionization potential. So ionization potential also you are familiar with. In the case of ionization potential, you know it is the amount of energy that is required, all right, to pull out the most loosely bound electron from an isolated gaseous atom. The most loosely bound electron is the electron from its outermost shell or the valence shell. The units of ionization potentials are in terms of electron volts, or you can also take kilocalories per gram atom, or you can take kilojoules per mole. So the units of the energy are used. And in the case of ionization potential, the mathematical representation can be shown as, suppose this is any metal M, then it has to lose an electron, then it is going to take energy equal to its ionization potential. So it absorbs energy equal to its ionization potential and converts into M plus. And of course, an electron will be given out. The same can be rewritten in the form of metal plus ionization potential value, that is the energy. This is going to give you M plus an electron. Okay, so this is just the mathematical way of writing, but all these are applicable only to the gaseous atoms. The values that we know are obtained for isolated gaseous atoms, because they are, in that case, they are not under the influence of any other atoms or any kind of attractive forces around them. Now coming to what are ionization potentials values when the second electron is pulled out from the same atom. Okay, so it is a simple thing to understand that if an electron has been pulled out from the atom, one electron has been pulled out, obviously the number of protons are now greater than the number of electrons. So when the number of protons are greater than that of the electrons, their hold on the electrons is much more as compared to what it was earlier. Definitely to pull out the next electron from the shell, from the valence shell, or from the next inner shell is going to be more difficult, hence more amount of energy will be required. Therefore, in general, it is believed that the first ionization potential values are less than the second, which in turn are less than the third, and of course it continues. Now this pattern is followed when you are talking in general terms, but in case if it comes across any exceptional electronic configurations, then the values may differ from what you are studying right now. Okay, so the second ionization potential values are usually always greater than the first IP values, that is the first ionization potential values. So the next thing that you're going to study is the variation of the ionization potential across the period and down the group, and what are the factors that are influencing it. So coming to this part, if I'm talking about the factors, the first factor, if I'm talking about factors which affect, all right, factors which affect, then in that case, the first one that I'm going to talk about is the charge on the nucleus. So if I'm talking about the charge on the nucleus, this is what we have learned, and in general we have followed also, that charge on the nucleus here means the number of protons. So charge on the nucleus, when you're going across the period, it is increasing. Okay, so simultaneously electrons are also being added. So the atomic size is decreasing. Now, one thing you have to understand is that ionization potential is inversely related to atomic size. Okay, this is another mathematical way of showing this, that let me write it as IP then, that the ionization potential values, all right, are inversely related to the atomic size. So if the atomic size is decreasing, the ionization potential values will increase. So when you are going across the period, when you go across it, this is the periodic table you just saw. When you're going across the periodic table, then the atomic size is decreasing, but the ionization potential values will increase because the size is decreasing. Why? Because it becomes more and more difficult to pull out a electron which is there in the valence shell. What happens when you're going down the group? When you go down the group, or when you observe the ionization potential values down the group, though the nuclear charge is also increasing, but we just did that in the last class, that due to the addition of a new shell, which more than compensates, all right, it more than compensates the effect of the nuclear charge, the size increases, and if the size increases, obviously the ionization potential values will decrease. So this is one aspect of studying the charge on the nucleus. That is one factor. The second factor that you have to study is the extent of penetration, all right, of the extent of penetration of the, if I'm talking about the same shell, all right, penetration of the subshells, that is the degree of penetration, you can say, of the electron in the electron cloud, all right, electron which is under question in the electron cloud. Just one second. Okay, electron in the electron cloud. All right, so this is the one in question in the valence shell, or in the electron cloud, we will write. Okay, now what are we talking about is that if the value of n remains the same, all right, if the value of n remains the same, n stands for the shell number, or the principal quantum number that we are talking about, then the ns values, all right, will be greater than the np values. The ionization potential value of the ns will be greater than the ionization potential value of the np, which will be greater than the ionization potential values of the d subshell, which will be greater than the ionization potential value of the f subshell for the same value of n. Okay, so that is provided the other factors remain the same. Now what we are discussing are, these are one of the factors which are affecting. Actually, it is the combined effect of all these that, you know, the periodic trends are seen. All right, now that is, suppose if I'm talking about this, let us say I'm talking about, take any element, let us say if I'm talking about boron. All right, so boron electronic configuration, the atomic number is 5. So hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, and boron, atomic number is 5. So you write down the electronic configuration as 2s2, 1s2, 2s2, and 2p1. All right, the energy required to pull out this electron is something around 8.3 electron volts per gram atom, let us say. Okay, then the amount of energy required to pull out an electron from this is as high as 26.1 electron volts per gram atom, or whatever units you are using. I am using this, so you can see the marked change, the how much the value is increasing. It is going up to 26.1 electron volts. So this is one thing that we have to study. Now consider another case where the value of n is the same, all right, but the elements are different. This is the same element that we have discussed. But if you take two different elements, let us say if I'm taking beryllium, all right, atomic number for beryllium is 4. So electronic configuration for this is 1s2 and 2s2. If these are the two electronic configurations that we are considering, then also you will find that in the case of beryllium, the first ionization potential values are 9.3 electron volts. All right, that is per gram atom of, okay. Now this means that you see the values for beryllium is greater than that of boron. All right, now this, you keep this point in mind, because you see, when you are going generally across the period, which element is going to come first? So you have hydrogen, helium in the first period, then lithium, beryllium, and boron. So we just discussed that when you are going across the period, all right, what happens that the boron is coming after beryllium. So boron should have had a higher electron, higher ionization potential values. But you see the beryllium has a higher values, all right, that is 9.3. Though the value is little different, the difference is very little, but still it is there, all right. So here you can understand both the things here. Two things you can understand. Number one, since the electron is being pulled out from the 2s2, obviously the electron, the amount of value of the ionization potential is more. Secondly, you can also understand that since 2s2 is a completely filled shell, subshell, that means it has 2 electrons. However, 2p is having only 1 electron, so that is also there, and therefore to pull out that 2p 1 electron is becoming much easier, and therefore the values for the boron is less. Okay, so these exceptions also you have to do. That is why I am doing this. Okay, the smaller values of boron is compared to that of beryllium is because of this. This you can explain on both the points, all right, based on both the points. Now you come to the third important point, that is the completely filled or the half-filled stability, all right. So completely filled subshells, completely filled shells, all right, filled subshells and half-filled subshells, okay. So if I'm talking about, okay, subshells, all right, and half-filled subshells. If I'm talking about the half-filled subshells and the completely filled subshells, for this you will see that in your book, I mean, this is following the Hund's rule, you will find that in the book, there are graphs given, okay. There are these diagrams given, tables given, where they have plotted the ionization potential values of certain elements, okay. First, let me just show you that so that you are able to relate that to your given in the book, okay. Now you see if this is the ionization potential values given in the increasing order in this way, and this is the atomic number, all right. In this axis is the atomic numbers are given. So it is increasing in this order. IP values are increasing in this order. Whichever units you take, kg moles inverse, that is kg per mole or electron volts, whatever. What has been seen is that the values are seen to be like this. If this is hydrogen, okay, then helium has a higher value, no doubt, okay. Then lithium, you come down, lithium shows a very little value, very less value. So this is lithium. Then after lithium, you know, the normal trend should have been that it keeps on increasing, but you will see a kind of a, you know, a seesaw increase, you will see like this, okay. Now, this is hydrogen, this is helium, okay, just the top ones I'm writing. This is helium, this is neon. All right, again, this goes down straight like this, okay, and then you have the sodium element here, okay, and again you will see that it kind of, you know, it shows a seesaw kind of an increase, and then again it moves in between. Of course, you have other elements, and this probably this peak is the argon, and then again it drops. Now I'm just going to consider these many and try to explain. You see, if I change the color here, let me show it in blue. If you see, you consider this point, okay, and you consider an element here, which is, let us say, in green, okay. All right. Now you see, if you are following the general trend, the ionization potential values should increase if lithium to neon is one period that we are talking about. That's the second period we are talking about. All right. But what do you find is that there is a slight decrease when it comes to, in this case, you see the value for nitrogen is pretty high. All right. First, let us consider beryllium. All right. So in this case, you will see that this one, the blue dot, from there is the line is going downwards. It shouldn't have happened like this. It should have continued to rise. Now, why does this happen? Why is this difference seen? Or why is this exception seen here? The reason being that when you come to beryllium, if you look at the beryllium, the one second, okay, beryllium, beryllium is atomic number 4. So you write down the electronic configuration as 1s2 and 2s2. So you're going to pull out an electron from a completely filled shell. All right. And then when you go to boron, this is the same difference that I'm showing you here. So when you go to boron with atomic number 5, the electron is to be pulled out from 1s2, 2s2, 2p1. This is what we just did. All right. That is why you see that there is a slight, reverse order. Again, it starts to rise until you again reach the nitrogen. The one in the blue is showing a exceptionally high value because it is meeting a a half-filled stability or a completely filled stable substance. Okay, stability of substance. So in the case of nitrogen also, you see the electronic configuration for nitrogen is 1s2. Nitrogen atomic number is, for nitrogen, the atomic number is 7. So it goes as 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. Okay, so when it is 2p3, the 2p orbitals are half filled, and whenever there is a half filled stability, then to pull out that electron from that becomes a little difficult, and therefore you will find that the next element finds a place little below nitrogen and then it continues to rise. Here you can also understand it like this, that the normal increase, all right, should have been, if I mark it with yellow, the normal increase should have gone, like this. It should have just gone like this, all right. But why do these blue ones show a more increased value of ionization potential is because they are meeting some kind of stability factor. And what is that stability factor here that we are discussing? It is the completely filled or the half filled substance. All right. If you also look at the case of the ionization potential values, if you talk about, let us say, when you're going from nitrogen and, if you talk about carbon has a, let me write down the element. So you have hydrogen, helium, then you have lithium, then you have beryllium, doesn't write. Okay. Beryllium, then you have boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and then you have the neon. This is the second period element that we are talking about. Okay. In this case, if you take the values in terms of kilojoules per mole, the value for carbon is around 1086. I don't know if it will fit in here. 1086. Okay, just 1 second. 1086. Okay, for carbon, I am writing it here. It is 1086 kilojoules per mole. All right. For nitrogen, it becomes, you see, 1402 kilojoules per mole. And for oxygen, it is 1314 kilojoules per mole. You see, from 10 to 13, going from carbon to oxygen, it was okay, 10 to 13. So nitrogen should have been somewhere around, 12 or 11. Okay, but it shows a high increase in the ionization potential value. Why? This is because it is encountering a half-filled substance, and therefore these discrepancies, or you can say these exceptions, are seen in the case of ionization potential values when you are going across the period. Now, the fourth point that we need to discuss, that is the fourth point or the fourth factor that I'm talking about is, let's come to that, the screening effect or the shielding effect. Now, this is again another very important, you can say, screening effect is another very important concept or phenomena that you have to study in the periodic table and periodic properties. It's called as the screening effect or the shielding effect. Okay. Now, what is this effect, shielding effect or screening effect, as we are talking about? You see, let us take and let me take an electron. Or let us say this is the nucleus. Okay. And an electron is there in this shell. Or if I'm drawing the shells here. So these are the different shells we are talking about. Okay. Now, let us say there is an electron in this here. Okay. Whatever is the atomic number, accordingly the electrons have been added into the respective shells. Now, this electron is going to feel an attractive pull from the nucleus. All right. But there are other electrons also in between the this electron under question and the nucleus. Now, what happens is that between these, what will happen? There is going to be inter-electronic repulsions. This is usually applicable when you are having multi-electron atoms, obviously. And if I show the attractive force of the nucleus on the electron with the yellow. Now this is it. Okay, so between the electron in question and the nucleus, you have other electrons. These electrons are showing a repulsive effect, or the repulsive forces are acting between the electrons and of the inner shells and the electron in the question that is in the outermost shell. So what happens is that the net attractive pull that this electron is going to encounter or is going to experience is much less than what it should have been. Okay, and this is called as the shielding effect or the screening effect. In some books you will find that the net nuclear effect, or that is the Z value, is given as, that is the effective pull of the electrons, that is the effective nuclear charge, is given as, this is sometimes marked with a dot or an asterisk. Okay, this is the net effective nuclear charge is equal to the effective nuclear charge minus the S. The S stands for the screening constant. Okay, every element will have its own depending upon the number of electrons that are there in the inner shells. Okay, now this is the screening effect, if you have understood. There is another term that you will learn as the poor screening effect. You may come across this term also. When the screening effect is poor, what will happen, and what is the screening effect and what is its effect? Let us first do that. So if I'm talking about the screening effect, and if the electron is experiencing less amount of pull from the nucleus in the middle, obviously what will happen, the amount of energy required to pull out the most loosely bound electron, which is now becoming more easier, obviously the ionization potential values will become less. All right, so this is basically applicable when you are going down the group. When you are going across the period, the shell numbers are remaining the same. So basically the screening effect is actually, happening in the same way. The same screening effect was also seen when you're going across the period and the atomic size is increasing. Obviously, due to the repulsions, there's a slight increase towards the group 18 elements because of this only. All right. So this effect that we are talking about has a quite important effect on the values of the ionization potential. And what happens is that if the screening effect is more, greater is the screening effect, lower will be the ionization potential value. And as you go down the group, it can be seen that the ionization potential values are kind of decreasing when you're going down the group, because greater is the size. When will the size be greater? Usually when there are more number of shells. When the number of shells are more, obviously the screening effect will be more. And if the screening effect is more, then to pull out the most loosely bound electron will be much easier, and therefore it happens in that way. However, with elements, with atomic numbers greater than 72, all right, elements with atomic numbers greater than 72, in these cases, further down in the periodic table, you will find that there is a slight change, or there is an exception to this vertical trend. Okay. Why is this there? Because I just mentioned to you that you come across another effect, which is called as lanthanide contraction. Okay. And due to the poor shielding effect of the fused F orbitals, there can be the shielding effect being less effective. What happens is that the shell is being pulled inwards more than what it should have been expected, and therefore in that case it does show that difference. And therefore due to this, what happens is the ionization potential values are slightly not in order. You can say it is an exception to the general trend. Okay, see what I'm trying to say is, when you're going down the group, okay, in general the ionization potential values are decreasing. All right, but for elements with atomic number 73, all right, the one which is above it, all right, the one which is above it is having a lesser, one second, okay, the one which is having the period, the elements in the period above this will happen in the 6th or the 7th period, you will find that the general trend is not followed. And when you're going down the period, the value with the atomic number 73 should decrease, but actually it is slightly increasing, because the atomic size is decreasing due to the lanthanide contraction there. Lanthanide contraction will have to be dealt in a little in a little more detailed way, which I'll maybe take up in the next class. Okay, but right now one more thing that is left is talking about the successive ionization potential values. So let me just clear this part here, that with the screening effect, you have to remember that greater is the screening effect, greater is the screening effect, then what is the effect of screening effect? Then greater is the screening effect. So will it be what? Directly proportional or inversely proportional to the ionization potential values? So greater is the screening effect, less will be the ionization potential value. So I can write it like this also. Okay. Or we can say greater is the screening effect, lower will be the ionization potential values, which is markedly seen in the case of when you're going down the group, that is in the vertical trend. All right. So screening effect or the shielding effect, then lower will be the IP values. Okay. Lower will be the IP values. Okay. Now let us come next to the successive ionization potential values. All right. So when I'm talking about the successive ionization potential values, it means I'm talking about the how much energy will be required to pull out the next electron. So if the next electron has to be pulled out, obviously we just did that the effective nuclear charge will be more. Why? Because more number of protons will be interacting with the less number of electrons. And in this case, what will happen? Obviously, the amount of energy required to pull out the electrons will be greater. Okay, so this is seen in general. And however, suppose if you come across any kind of an exception that a certain element is showing, with atomic number, this is showing its second IP values, see the general trend is that the IP value 1 is going to be less than the IP value 2, all right, which is going to be less than the IP value 3. All right, but suppose if you come across any question where it is saying that the ionization potential 2 is less than the ionization potential 1 value, then remember, if this means that the first ionization potential value is, what is happening is that the electron is being pulled out of either a completely filled orbital or a half filled orbital. Okay, and once that stability is disturbed, then pulling out the next electron becomes much easier, and therefore this kind of a thing is also seen. Sometimes, a question that comes to my mind is that if I'm talking about a magnesium ion, the magnesium is Mg2+, correct? In this case, the two electrons are already shown, it easily forms Mg2+ ions. What could be the reason for these? So if you look at the group 2 elements, you will find that they all have Ns2 electrons completely filled. All right. I mean, the Ns subshell is having 2 electrons. That's a completely filled subshell. In this case, what I understand is, what is my understanding is that the amount of energy that will be required to pull out the first electron from Ns2. Why doesn't magnesium show a valency of Mg+? All right, why is it only Mg2+? Why not this one? Okay, the reason could be that when you are supplying energy to pull out the first electron, okay, the first electron, because it's being pulled out from a completely filled S subshell, that much of energy is enough to even pull out the next electron. And therefore, the 2 electrons are removed easily, and the divalent cations are obtained in this case. Okay, so this could be one of the ways to understand this. Then the next that you have to do are the applications of ionization potential. What are the applications of, if you know the values of the ionization potentials? So the applications are very simple. You already know, but we just have to frame it. Okay, frame it in the sense how to apply. All right, application of ionization potential values. So in this case, you will understand the first is it explains the trend. All right, it explains the trend from a metallic character, explains the trend, let me write, explains the trend from a metallic character, to a non-metallic character, all right, to a non-metallic character. Then secondly, it is talking about the number of valence shells. Suppose if you have a certain element, let us talk about lithium, all right, so it determines the number of electrons that are there in the outermost shell. I shouldn't say determines, helps in determining the number of electrons in the valence shell. All right, now how can this be attained? So you see, in this case, suppose the first IP value, the first ionization potential value is equal to 5.4 electron volts. Okay, and the second ionization potential value is, let us say, 75.6 electron volts. Okay, I'm just taking randomly. Okay, now what you understand is per gram atom. Now what you understand here is that pulling out the first electron, very little amount of energy was required. So definitely in the outermost shell, maybe only one electron is there. And but when it comes to pulling out the second one, then we see that there is a marked increase. You know, the amount, the difference is very high. This means that probably the second shell is completely filled. And therefore, in this case, what is happening? The amount of energy required is more. Okay. The third application that is there is the reactivity in case of electro positive elements, you can say. The reactivity is related to reactivity of elements. Okay. Now, what is this that I'm talking about is that, let us go back to the periodic table. When you go to the periodic table, you see that when you're going down the group, IP values are decreasing. All right. IP values decrease when you're going down the group. That means the metallic character increases. All right. That means the metallic character is increasing. If the metallic character is increasing, then we talk about it being more reactive. All right. So in a way, we can say that low values, okay, low values of IP, ionization potential, all right, are directly proportional to the reactivity. Directly proportional to the reactivity. Now, does it mean that high values means that they are non-reactive? Okay. Now, according to this, this means that high values would mean high values of IP values would mean that they are non-reactive. Now, this is not applicable to the non-metals. Okay, so that is what I'm saying, that the reactivity in case of dominant electropositive characters only, it is applicable that the low values of IP is directly proportional to reactivity. But high values of IP in case of, let us say, fluorine, which is the most reactive non-metal. All right, in case of fluorine, it is not applicable. The above is not applicable. Above meaning what we saw in the last page. Okay, the above is not applicable. All right, why it is not applicable? Because here we are not talking in terms of ionization potential values. When we go to fluorine, we are talking in terms of low ionization, we are talking in terms of electron affinity. All right. So high values of IP in case of fluorine, the above is not applicable. Why? Because in this case, the high IP values does not indicate that it is non-reactive. Okay. But the concept is explained on the basis of its non-metallic character. All right. And the fourth point that you have to do is reducing power. All right. Reducing power of the elements, you can take it as lower is the IP value. Reducing power is directly proportional to the lower values of the lower value of IPs. All right. Of ionization potentials. Now this is what you have to know. So basically what we did in the ionization potential property is that when you are going across the period, it increases. When you're going down the group, it decreases. This is related to the metallic character. Why? Because when you're going across the group, the metallic character decreases. So the values you are relating only to the metallic characters here. And when you are going down the group, ionization potential values are decreasing, and therefore the metallic character is increasing. When you're going across the period, the ionization potential values are increasing, hence the metallic character is decreasing. All right, and what are the factors that affect? Of course, we have done the charge on the nucleus, the screening effect, and the penetration effect of the electron in the electron cloud, and exceptions that you come across that you have to do. And that is all I think we did today regarding the ionization potential values. The next that you have to do is the electron affinity value. Now, what are these electron affinity values, or what is electron affinity? Affinity, you can say, in a way is opposite. Okay, children say that, miss, in a way it is opposite. I'll just take another 10 minutes. Electron affinity, we say, is opposite, all right, of ionization potential. Why? Because here ionization potential was an endothermic phenomena, mind you. it is absorbing energy. But in the case of electron affinity, it is the energy which is given out. So in the case of electron affinity values, we say it is the amount of energy that is released when an electron is added to a neutral gaseous atom in its valence shell. All right. So this is what is meant by electron affinity, and the energy that is given out is indicated with a minus sign. The minus sign is only telling you that this is the amount of energy that is given. It is not, the values are not in terms of minus, but it is just telling you that the amount of energy that is given out is, whatever values are given according to that. When you go across the period, what happens to the electron affinity values? When you go across the period, the electron affinity values also increase. All right. For the simple reason, because the electron affinity is a measure of how much the atom wants the electrons. All right. How much that atom wants the electrons. The more it wants the electrons, the more it is going to release energy and accept the electrons. Otherwise, also you can imagine if this is the nucleus, all right, and the electron is here, the closer it has to come to the nucleus, the more amount of energy it has. Okay, the more amount of energy it has to give out. So if the size is decreasing, obviously the amount of energy that it has to give out will be more. Why? Because in that case it will come further closer to the nucleus. Suppose if I'm talking about two different places, this electron is here only. If it has to come to this shell, then this is the amount that it is, this is the distance it is traveling. But if it has to come to this shell, obviously it is coming closer. Now this is, the differences are not so high when you actually look into the atomic radius when you're going across the period. There is a slight decrease only. But what we are saying is that the closer it is coming to the nucleus, more amount of energy it has to release. The more amount of energy that it releases, the more it is indicating that the atom wants the electron. And obviously, when you have also studied that when you're going across the period, the non-metallic character increases, and the atoms acquire electrons to complete their octet. So the urge to complete their octet invites the electron, the atoms will invite the electrons more strongly, and therefore the amount of energy released is also more. So even if you are going across the period, atomic size is decreasing. Remember, ionization potential values are increasing, and also the electron affinity values are increasing. So ionization potential value is directly proportional to electron affinity also. Higher will be the ionization potential values, higher will be the electron affinity values also. Exceptions again you will encounter in the case of electron affinities also. Wherever there is a completely filled or a half filled subshell, they will not want electrons to disturb the stability. Therefore, the amount of energy that will be given out in those cases, the measure of the electron affinity values will be less. One thing that you study in standard 10 is the vertical trend of electron affinity values. When you go down the group, all right, the vertical trend tells you that when you are going down the group, if ionization potential values are decreasing, electron affinity values should also decrease. So when you are going down the group, in the case of halogens, okay, that is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine, these are the usual 4 ones we take. Then if you are going, if in this case, if we are going down the group, what should happen to the electron affinity values? They should decrease. But what the trend is seen is that chlorine has the highest electron affinity value, then it is fluorine, then the bromine, and then the iodine. What is the reason behind this is the fluorine atom is so small. In its second shell only, it has to accommodate 8 electrons. Okay, because its atomic number is 9. All right, and in this case, electronic configuration will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p5. And in this case, the second shell is going to try and acquire electrons, and therefore the electronic density is much high. And therefore, if an electron is added to that small shell, or the second shell, then due to the increased electronic repulsions, the amount of energy that it will release, or the measure of its wanting the electron to be added will be less compared to that of chlorine, because in the case of chlorine, 8 electrons are going to be added in the third shell. Okay, so therefore this discrepancy is seen, or this anomaly is seen in the vertical trend of electron affinity values. Now, one more thing, how would you write the mathematical statement for the electron affinity values? So you can write, if this is an element which is gaining an electron, then it is going to convert into A minus plus energy equivalent to its electron affinity will be given out. Okay. Now what happens to the successive electron affinity values? If I am talking about the successive affinity values, remember A negative, which is already a negative ion, has to accept an electron which is again negative. So there will be some kind of repulsion between these two. And when some kind of repulsion is seen between these two, then the amount of energy that it will release to accept the other electrons will be less than the amount of energy that has been released in the first case. So if this is 2 minus and this is EA2, that is the electron affinity 2, then the value of EA2, EA1 will be greater than that of EA2. Okay, now this is contrary to what you did in the ionization potential values. The successive ionization potential values were always more than the previous one, but in this case, in general, in this case, the electron affinity values are less in the successive electron affinity values are less. Why? Because certain amount of energy which is given out is used up in overcoming the inter-electronic, or you can say the repulsion between the like charges, that is the negatively charged ion and the electron which is to be added to this. Okay, so this was a little what you needed to know about electron affinity. The factors are also remaining the same. It is the almost everything is the same, except that in this case also you have to discuss in terms of the amount of energy that is released, and therefore it becomes an exoergic phenomena or an exothermic phenomena. And of course, values, of course, that half filled, completely filled, stability of the subshells should also be taken into account if there is any discrepancy that you come across. So that I think this is enough for today, and then maybe in the next class we will take up I'll continue with this electron affinity and move on to do the electronegativity, which is again another important aspect. And remember, when you go across the period, ionization potential values increase, electron affinity increases, electronegativity increases. And when you go down the group, ionization potential decreases, electron affinity decreases, electron negativity also decreases. The only thing that goes opposite to these three properties is the atomic size, which is inversely related to all these three properties. Anyway, more details we will take up in the next class. I hope you all understood, children. I hope you understood, because in between there was no response. Yes, anyone?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
Yes,
All
miss.
right. And if you have any doubts or anything, you can always ask. There is no issue regarding that. And I think that's all for today. Okay, children?
Thank you, miss.
Thank you.
Thank you, miss.
Miss.
Thank you.
So I see you on Tuesday again. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, children.